This next story is funny. From thehill.com, Obama did not discuss Russian election meddling with Putin. These people really think that Russia was behind the leaks, the exploitation of the email account of John Podesta that ended up at WikiLeaks, the things they tell themselves. Folks, really, they don't know what they're talking about. These people in the media do not know what they're talking about. It's in addition to everything else. I have never met a larger collective group of like-minded robots, mind-numbed robots, who don't know anything, and they are the people who think they know it all. They are begrudgingly admitting they don't know what happens outside of New York and Washington. I actually saw, can I share this with you? Yes, I can, because it is my show. I'd love to mention the name here, but it wouldn't be useful because then people would focus on the name and not what I'm saying. But it was an info babe who appears on Fox News. Now, she's a strategist. She's not an anchorette. She's a strategist. And she was, after the election, yes, you know, some of us are going to have to realize, those of us who live on the Upper West Side, we don't have any problems with our health care, and we don't have any problems with sending our children off to private schools and daycare and paying the bills. Why, that's not a problem for all of us on the Upper West Side. But we made the mistake of thinking that everybody was like this. We assumed, we didn't realize that there are people that can't afford to send their kids to private school. And she was speaking as though she had just discovered this. She was not speaking from the standpoint that, boy, you know, a bunch of us have got to get real here. She was actually, I think what it was, she's not a professional media person. She is a political strategist that Fox hires to come in and do TV appearances. So she's not, by nature, a media professional. But I think what she was doing was trying to build a connection with her audience, or with the audience to this program. She's one of like 15 or 20 that appear on the show. Anyway, I think what she was doing was trying to relate to people. You know what? We now get it. We didn't realize that other people were having such trouble with just day-to-day expenses. She was approaching this from the standpoint that she had just figured it out, that it was an eye-opening learning experience for her, and she was going to be better in the future now. But she really was under the impression that everybody had the health care they wanted, and that everybody had the educational choices that they wanted, and everybody had the disposable income. But why would anybody think this? How would anybody think this? In order to really think that, in order to really think that there is not a lower middle class that's suffering, you have to believe the government's unemployment number one. You have to believe pretty much every bit of propaganda that the only people suffering are the illegal immigrants. The only people suffering are gays and lesbians and transgenders. The only people suffering are African Americans. The only people suffering are people who are different by virtue of behavior, by virtue of skin color, by virtue of sexual orientation. Those are the only people suffering in America, according to and this is a classic limousine liberal, wine and brie cocktail party liberal living on the Upper West Side who thinks that there is no suffering, that Obama has been so successful, that Obama's economic recovery has been so successful that she was stunned. And never again would this kind of detachment happen to her. She was going to make a point of finding out how other people are living and not assuming that everybody was doing as well as those of us on the upper. She kept saying it, that those of us on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. Oh, she's a Democrat strategist, of course. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, our kids go to the good schools that we choose, and she professed to be shocked, but never again She assured the audience, was she ever again going to make this mistake? Next election, they weren't going to be blindsided by the reality that there were suffering people out there who might be white, who might be heterosexual, who might have 2.8 kids, who might have lost their. She's never again going to be shocked by this. In their world, the only people suffering are prisoners, African-American men in big cities who the cops are trying to murder, gays who want to get married and the country doesn't support it, transgenders who can't use the bathroom they want to use, and whatever other pet leftist cause. That's the only suffering there is out there. And that suffering is not economic. That suffering is because of Republicans. That suffering is because of the bigoted closed-mindedness of conservatives. I'm telling you, if she's being honest, that's worse than being biased. To be that ignorant of your own country and that accepting of the BS that comes from government studies and unemployment numbers or whatever the president has. What reminded me of it is this. Obama didn't discuss Russian election meddling with Putin. This is a Hill.com story. So they're thinking that, okay, Obama's going to meet with Putin. He's going to give him what for? Obama's going to unload on Putin. Obama's going to tell him, how dare you affect our election? How dare you make it possible for Trump to win? How dare you, for the first time ever, try to involve yourself in an election? And they're flummoxed that Obama didn't bring it up. Can I tell you, leftists, why he didn't bring it up? Because Obama knows the Russians had nothing to do with it. The Russians didn't have anything to do with hacking the DNC computer or the John Podesta computer or the Hillary server. The Russians didn't have anything to do with it. Putin said they didn't have anything to do with it. And Julian Assange also said it was an inside job. It had to be an inside job of the DNC. And it makes perfect sense. There had to be discord at the DNC. Over half the place was for Bernie Sanders, and they're rigging the game for Hillary. There had to be some people with their noses out of joint in there. You know, there's another illusion that we've been asked or told to believe, and that is that there's total unity and love and adoration, and there's not one bit of discord in the Democrat Party. That they're all on the same page for everybody. And that when they have a contentious primary campaign, that's just part of the show. But when it's all over, we all unite behind Hillary or whoever our nominee, and that's bogus too. There's some Democrats that really had their noses out of joint during that entire primary because the cult of the Clintons. I mean, the Clintons have been sent packing. And the Bidens are gone. The Obamas are soon going to be gone, except he's not going to go away. But it really is a generational passing of the torch. If they're frustrated, Obama wouldn't call Putin out on this. That's another stupid, idiotic thing that they believe. You know, one of the reasons they believe it is because Trump was making a joke. They don't recognize humor when they're the butt of it. And so Trump's making a joke about the Russians maybe helping find Hillary's missing emails. And so remember how outraged they got? They accused Trump of inviting the Russians in to tamper with an American election. And Trump is just laughing at them, and they have no idea they're being laughed at because nobody laughs at them. Oh, no. You don't laugh at your betters. You don't laugh at them. Trump was mocking them and laughing at them, and they heard it as Trump urging the Russians to sabotage the Democrats in the election. So they expected Obama to go in there and give Putin the what for. And Obama didn't do it. The reason is that Obama knows Putin had nothing to do with it. Washington Examiner, Obama comforted devastated staff after Trump victory. Did you see the picture of this White House staff after the election? They're all standing around crying. Valerie Jarrett and the gang. Obama loyalists plot Trump resistance. This is a Politico story. Alumni of the Obama White House spent days mourning Trump's win. Now they're ready to fight. Politico's just excited. They're cheering. They can't contain themselves how excited they are that the Democrats are now going to band together, Obama loyalists, to try and stop Trump at every turn. Did I not tell you that they're saying they got it after it would last not even 2 weeks? They're already past why they lost and thinking and saying that they need to adapt and they need to learn what it is about them that people rejected. That was never going to be true at the outset. It never is. They don't think they're the ones who have change. It's another obscene profit timeout. We'll be back after this, folks. Don't go away. Donald Trump set to take America back to the moon and ditch NASA's climate change research. UK Daily Mail. The Trump news continues to be astounding to me. And Trump has a plan for government workers. This is the Washington Post, and the headline says they're not going to like it. Donald Trump and the Republican-controlled Congress are drawing up plans to take on the government bureaucracy they have long railed against by eroding job protections and grinding down benefits that federal workers have received for generations. Do you know that there are like 2 or 3 times as many people been hired to work in government as in manufacturing in this country the last, forget what the number of years is, but it is astounding. So the Washington Post says that Trump's going to institute hiring freezes, an end to automatic raises, a green light to be able to get rid of people that are not working well, not doing a good job. They're going to institute a ban on union business on the government's dime and less generous pensions. That's the blueprint emerging under Republican control of Washington, the Washington Post says. The number of people working in government who earn 6-figure salaries would stun you. And look, we're all for people doing well. I don't want anybody to misunderstand here. But government jobs, by definition, are not productive. For the government to grow, the U.S. economy has to shrink. The pie is the pie. Money is generated not by government. All government does is shift it around. Government destroys wealth by virtue of taxation. Government shifts wealth, but government does not produce it. All they do is take it and destroy it and move it around. So if there's less money, less capital floating around in what I call the U.S. economy, others call the private sector, then the opportunity for growth is all that much more limited and restricted. And hiring government workers is growing government's a pet Democrat project. It's blind loyalty voting-wise. And anyway, it's gotten way out of hand. It was never intended to be this big and bloated, and this is right on the money. This is exactly, and I'm thinking all these never-Trumpers out there that Trump's not conservative, Trump's not this, Trump's not that. And we shall see. This is the blueprint. This is what they want to happen. These people are going to fight this like you have not seen before, folks. Now we're getting, this is the air and water of the Democrat Party. And you know what happens when they deny you air? You start squirming, do whatever you can to get breath. Water, you don't want to drown. That's where these people are going to be. It's going to get ugly, more than likely.